Welcome to Dance's presentation of Aion, the Tower of Eternity. We're going to jump in game in just a few moments, but first we're going to summarize the background for you so you know what it's all about. Aion is also the name of the god in this universe, and more specifically on this planet, Atreya. And Atreya, it's not quite like our world, because Atreya is hollow, and the people actually live on the inside of the world as opposed to the outside. And when the world was whole, you had the Tower of Eternity, which stretches here. It stretched from the North Pole to the South Pole. And this was Aion's physical manifestation in a way, and it provided light to the people living therein. But as you can see in this picture, the world has been destroyed. And it was shattered into two pieces after a long and bitter war between dragon lords, which Aion created to take care of the world for him, but that had now rebelled against him, and Empyrean lords, which were created in the image of humans, and they were created to balance the world out again, to suppress the rebellion. But at the end of the war, the dragon lords, they were banished into an area called the Abyss, which is located between the two halves. It looks something like this. And some of the Empyrean lords died, but some survived on the bottom half, and they would become the Ilias, which is one of the game's playable factions. And some survived on the top half, and they became the Asmodeans, the other playable faction of the game. And for millennia, they were unaware of each other's survival, and they both blamed each other for the destruction of the world. And when a player steps into the game, they have just met each other again, just realized, hey, they're still alive, and they hate each other. So war is breaking out between the two of them, and against the dragon lords have returned and amassed a huge army called the Balor. This is character creation. They first choose their faction, either the Ilias or the Asmodeans. The Ilias, of course, were the more lucky ones, because their bottom half, it was bathed in sunlight. It was a very bright and vivid world. You can see here right away that they got fair skin and they became beautiful. And this made them quite arrogant in a way, because their beauty, it made them think they were chosen by Aion, and they thought that Asmodeans, they were cursed creatures. And in a way they were cursed creatures, because they were cast into this dark world on the top half where they didn't have any sunlight at all. So they had to evolve feral features such as claws on their hands and manes on their backs. And you can see, as most outsiders would think when they first saw them, they look kind of evil, fierce, but they really aren't evil, because evil in Aion is subjective. The Asmodeans, for example, they think that the Ilias are the evil ones. So this is character customization. And once you're happy with your design, you can preview it either without any armor, with a very basic armor, and with a higher level armor, so you can actually see what your character may look like later on in the game. So we're landing in an area called the Mustful Volcano. And this is a mid-level Asmodean area. As you can see, it's very dark and barren. It's being poisoned by a huge volcano behind us. So we're running into a cave underneath this volcano, because we're going to show you the combat system on some of the mobs in here. It's been infected by insects. So as you can see, when Ricky here is fighting, you have icons popping up on the right of the mobs. We'll see if we can get another one. Try to find another insect. There we go. Got two icons popping up. And each of these icons represent a chain of skills. Because every time you click an icon, you delve deeper into a chain of skills. Skill chains are a very interesting aspect of the combat in this game, because they allow you to, well, strategize around different situations. They allow you to pick this chain or this tree for this situation and another one for another one. So you start with a basic attack, you get more choices, and depending on which ones you choose, you get further choices. Some of the arrows between the choices are highlighted, and it simply means that they're not always given as an option, but rather come with a probability rate. So you don't always know if you're going to be able to pull a certain combination off. There's always an element of probability. This is a gladiator, and his skills are very geared towards damage dealing. So you want to deal a lot of damage as a gladiator, and that's fine. But sometimes you may want to branch out. You may need to branch out for a certain situation. You can see here a lot of damage dealing. But that's why we introduced the stigma system. And the stigma system, it has 5 slots, as you can see here. And in each of these slots, you can socket a stigma stone. And these stigma stones, they can be found all over the world in the thousands. So through boss drops, mob drops, raids, quests, trading, you name it. And they represent a skill from another class. So you can basically take the skill from another class and use it yourself. An interesting thing is, for an example, as a mage, you can choose a stigma stone of heavy armor, so you can actually wear the heavy armor and disguise yourself as a knight, and then just surprise the enemy by starting to throw fireballs. We're just going to finish this combat section with a divine power skill. Divine power is gathered all through the fight, and at the end you can unleash it like this. So when you have enough, you can cooperate in a group, if you're in a group, and transfer the divine power to one person, and he can finalize it by delivering this really powerful attack if you want to.